What's up, y'all? Welcome to your new moon in Capricorn ceremony. This is the peace stealer. Um, yeah, I didn't even think about that. We will resume the Aquarius season monthly peace report and monthly tribe reports this week. So I'll schedule them tomorrow so we can just get them. We'll start a day early. Might as well. And yes, welcome to the end game. Technically, we've officially kicked off the end game with the new moon. The end of the end game. The end game has started for like 2 years now, 3 years now. And we are now at the what I like to call final activation series. All right, please make sure you hit that like button on your way in or on your way out. I'm going to break down the next 2 weeks ahead, coming into the full moon in Leo, and I'll do my best to try and explain to you or show to you why and how significant this next 2 weeks even are, and why this period is majorly significant, and also encourage you not to get discouraged due to any events that occur over the next couple of months before we activate this new cycle. I think some of you are not looking at the forest for the trees, or I don't even think that's how you're supposed to say it. But I think some of you are so caught up in what's not working for you right now that you're not putting the context into the overarching period. Some of you might be really caught up on, oh, I've been trying to make this work and nothing seems to be pushing forward and nothing seems to be working. And you have to remember you are quite literally at the end of a 180 plus 30-year plus 248-year plus cycle. Okay, you can't see the plot twist yet. Shout out to Kobe. But like, we are literally getting ready to activate brand new cycles that even your grandparents have never seen. So a lot of why you even feel you need to gain a certain sense of success is because of this conditioned program sense of success that has been wired into your brain. If you think of success as a 10th house Capricorn function, right? A collective respect portal. A lot of what you see as success, a lot of the grace many of you will not give your own selves because you have not gained accolades from other people. You may not realize how a lot of that has been conditioned by the adults around you. And it's very easy for people to turn around and say, "Oh, well, if you're not winning, you're a loser. You know, you have to stop making excuses." Only for those same people to make excuses, quote unquote, that I wouldn't even say are wrong or right. It's very important for you to understand a lot of that shit is being thrown in the garbage. And then many of you are stressing yourself out because you are still adhering to expectations and guidelines that were never real. Remember, nothing real can be threatened. We're entering a period with Pluto and Aquarius that's going to awaken more knowledgeable understanding than ever. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, people did not have access to internet networks with all sorts of fake, true, or real information that could be researched and disseminated. Okay. Imagine the fact that you have thousands, like millions of people who think that Josephus is an actual resource to prove the historicity of Jesus, and other such, you know, things being said when you have millions of people following religions, and this is not to hate on whatever religion you study, but let's keep it a buck 50,000. There's a lot of people who worship a Jesus that has never had historicity on this planet and has never existed. Paul, the Gospel of Paul came out before the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Okay, um, Islam was quite literally just created by this dude who didn't like how Judaism and Christianity was. Like all these religions are fake, fam. You've always known this, but like more knowledge is coming out to that has always existed to reinforce how much of this is really just used to brainwash and to basically control other people since 2 millennia ago. It's very easy to whitewash this under the guise of public service. Look, we're doing good things for good people because morality is supposed to be some justification for faith systems that have no reality based on them. And now you're worshiping a God that was made by men for men. The same God that will tell you you're a woman, your period makes you unclean. Shut the fuck up in church. Don't talk. Just let men talk. Y'all eat that shit up because it's masculine versus being overly feminine. I'm not gonna speak for every one of you, but like we are exiting those periods. Like we're done. We'll never be back there. You're going to have people whose identity is based on that, and they don't have any real sense of themselves outside of that. Let them suck the dick of that shit. That's why people are mad at Drewski. And they're saying that he's mocking God. No, he's not mocking God. He's mocking this pitiful, pathetic state of the church that even Revelation 2 predicted the church will be. And people want to get mad at him because he's just showing you what people are getting finessed with. And people don't like when that mirror is put to their face. I don't even watch Drew. He just drops the skit, and then people are gonna feel a certain way and talk about it. It's social shit. So just really, really keep that in mind. Okay, these are just more signs of the time, and we are finally at this specific period that's going to bring us out of a lot of the dumbass, stupid rhetoric and collective beliefs that have plagued us because of the consequences of older generations who really didn't know shit. I'm gonna be completely honest. Like there's technical knowledge that has brought us through here, but a lot of this philosophical bullshit that has really served to suppress those who actually know what they're talking about. Your time is here. Like we're done. They've had increasingly weaker power, and you have a lot of idiots who don't know shit about shit who are the most vocal, who are going to judge you based off of a book that has been plagiarized and has no historicity as to why you're a worthless sinner, as to why, doctrines around original sin, which have never been real, how that has any bearing. We are done with the days where you will let these people sit, judge, and talk to you like they do anything meaningful because they live a fucking lie. I'm not saying this so that you judge other people who want to believe it. I believe Goku saved Universe 7 from the Tournament of Power. Goku's a real nigga to me. It's just, if it comes time to actually be honest, I'll let you know Goku was written by Toriyama. Okay, like these people cannot tell you where the original manuscripts of these texts they read exist from, which is a problem if they're going to judge you based off of that and then try and like manipulate your life based off of fucking bullshit that was pretty much pushed forward by the last ancient relic of a dead Roman Empire. Oh, we going in today, bro. I didn't come here to play around. Like this is a very important time because there's gonna be so much themes, there's gonna be so much shit you're going to see die. And the first part of this is gonna be weird because you're just used to this white noise existing as it has for years. It's not going to be the case, and so really this is for both man and woman, all right? Um, Men are redirecting what it truly means to be in power, right? I think males have men and males have throughout history seen only the most disgusting, toxic, horrible examples of what it actually means to be masculine, of what it actually means to wield power. And the few men of integrity who have actually stood up to this corruption and showed men what power looks like have been murdered, have been killed, have been ostracized. They've not been represented powerfully at all. And then you have women who have been pretty much just, been all sorts of things you can imagine, um, backed by, ancient bullshit and beliefs around why, this God or this belief justifies their treatment of all sorts of people. And you're seeing them, of course, continue to uh, rise past that and most importantly, speak up against it and break through against it. And, yeah, on the surface, it looks like there's these gender wars that seem to split males and females together. But gender wars will always exist. The internet has just exacerbated it and set it up. But I think we're going to see a lot of men and women coming together, working together as a collective to really overcome a lot of what has put us in this position in the first place. And I promise you, it's not all bad. It's not all bad. The reason why we're able to even speak up and communicate about this stuff is because we have been healing, we have been growing, we haven't not been doing nothing. All right. And that's very important, uh, bringing into account. Ignore that ticker about the cards. We won't be doing cards today, but we will when we come back tomorrow with the monthly support. Just keep that in mind, guys, because we're getting ready to push forward on a whole different time clock, amongst other things. So yeah, a lot to keep in mind. Oh, let me see. Okay, yeah, I do sound like it. Thanks for the heads up. Let me switch to this. That's because I lied too. How do I sound now, y'all? Want to make sure you got. So that's that right there. And then this is my other mic. I'm gonna see if this is still muffled or whatnot. Okay. So I think it's because I had some audio in the background and it was competing over which audio it heard. So thanks for the heads up. If the audio sounds weird again, let me know. But yeah, I'm very excited about this. I didn't realize posting shorts does make a lot of difference. I heard about it, but Yeah, it really does. So I'm grateful you guys have been enjoying a lot of these shorts I've been putting out. I've been kind of focusing a lot on the basics. So we'll get better. We'll kind of push forward with that. But yes, we're gonna talk about this new moon um, in Capricorn ceremony. We'll revisit a lot of this with the monthly peace report we're gonna do tomorrow as well for Aquarius season. Basically getting ready for Aquarius season. We have activated this pregame. All right, Capricorn season was the pregame. It was what brought everyone together. It's what brought Mars, Sun, and Venus conjunct Mercury has finally caught up. All right. Thank you. Yeah, that was so funny. Almost forgot I made that. I forgot. I didn't even know that was 2016. And yeah, the now that they've all met together, it's time to step into this party, the celestial party. This is going to be wicked work. It's going to be very diabolical. We're entering a period where the nature and the state of world politics, because everything with the last zodiac signs are all universal. They're tying in everything and everything together, every plot point, all of that together throughout the rest of the zodiac signs that show us how now these world themes play out individually through different people and different mores. But yeah, a lot I want to really break through. I'm gonna I'm not gonna keep this too long. I'm not gonna keep you guys here too long. But we have activated, of course, supernatural power. So let me really break down what makes this supernatural. Taurus is our physiological senses. It's natural strength, right? Aries is raw physical power, right? Physical, boom. And then you have cosmic energy. You have what is outside the natural, right? Which some people will say Scorpio can count as that. We're going to count Aquarius as supernatural if Taurus is natural. Aquarius is the energy of the cosmos, the universe, but it's also going to represent the supernatural outside the boundaries of what's natural, of what's real. And because we have Pluto 3 degrees in Aquarius, 5 degrees away from this new moon, the moon is going to, as a part of this sun activation, go through Venus and then go through Pluto. Thus, within 30 degrees from 28 degrees Cap to 28 degrees Aquarius, it falls within that range of activation. Hence why we are also awakening in this activation. The moon now goes from the peak of Capricorn, which is activating universal power, okay, at this godlike level, at the final degrees, and immediately applies this activation of the direction we are aware and understanding we are headed towards into this extraordinary celestial strengthened understanding of what we're activating. So why right now as the moon is in Aquarius, you're coming into an immediate knowledgeable understanding of what power we've just activated. Then the moon's going to go into Pisces and we're going to convert this energy into perspective that now begins to give us a metaphysical, unseen perspective and understanding of supernatural energy we are quite literally manifesting and continuing to activate. So this cycle that starts at the end of Capricorn is going to extend all throughout Aquarius, just like the Sag new moon broke through into Capricorn and the Scorpio new moon, of course, emerged through Sagittarius. And that's what I mean by having the new moons at the end of the zodiac sign. The next thing we want to see here, which is exceptionally important, is quite literally now this nature of the moon, or rather the sun, in 28 degrees Cap, Mercury 27 degrees Cap, because Mars is going to be the very last to exit Cap. Mind you, Mars was the very first to enter Capricorn because Mercury retrograded in Sag. Mercury was the first to enter Sagittarius. It retrograded. Then Mars entered Sagittarius. Venus still had to come out of Scorpio to catch up. So Mars was the first to make it into Capricorn. Mercury went direct, finally caught up. They're all going to meet in Aquarius. And Mars, even though it was the first to enter Cap, is going to be the last to leave Capricorn. And now all the planets are going to start to really take over and speed past Mars, which happens once every 2 years. Okay. So this is a very, very important period because, like I'm going to revisit, many of you may feel discouraged. Many of you may feel like you're not where you want to be, and you're lying to yourself. We are quite literally, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't criticize your progress. I'm not saying that you can't do better than where you're at. I'm saying you're being too hard on yourself in a period right before we're getting ready to start the next cycle where everything that you're currently working on is going to further push forward from you. So you want to be mindful of manipulative perspectives that give you the impression that you're not doing enough when you've already done more than enough to get to where you're at. Let me remind you, there is literally nothing to do. We are shedding our skin, closing out the snake Chinese zodiac. We are literally at the end of a cycle before Aries season, where we'll kick off the next cycle. And that's why I'm calling this the final activation series. We have this new moon in Capricorn here. We're going to have in a month from now the new moon in Aquarius that's going to square Uranus, thus completing that cycle. Then we're going to have this eclipse in Pisces, and we're going to have the new moon in Pisces, literally at 28 degrees Pisces. This 28-degree Pisces new moon in 2 months from now is quite literally going to be the final part of this final activation that's going to lead the sun to now activate the new world order. And then we're going to have the new moon near the end of Aries. So as you can see, that is what the final activation series looks like as we close out this end game. And as we come into the next new moon, Saturn and Neptune will quite literally have entered Aries. This is not a game. This is not a drill. And that's why I say, even though we have Aquarius and Pisces, which don't really count, this new moon in Capricorn is really the final one, because the next two new moons is already going to bring the shift of this entire collective rulership into resetting the cycle, even though we don't officially activate it until post late March. Okay. So when I say the final activation, this new moon in Capricorn is the last activation of this completion cycle. Then we'll have Aquarius and Pisces, which are really going to blend the end of that old cycle into bringing in the new cycle. A lot of themes and concepts that are real that people will act like you're pseudoscientific for even referencing. And in this sense, you know, nothing real can be threatened. So this is where you don't necessarily want others who are running off of theoretical models that aren't really as real, even if they are seemingly replicable, are trying to pressure you who are, you know, pioneering and demonstrating ancient principles in new ways, innovating and pioneering things expressly based in reality. A lot of you are wasting your time trying to go back and forth with people whose burden of proof is on them to prove to you, and are trying to convince you that it's the other way around. Okay. Of course, that's up to you if you want to really, you know, spend time doing that. But allow the people who can't to just shower you with ad hominems and straw men, because that's all they really can do, since there really is no substance into what they're saying. That being said, now that we are fully stepping into this supernatural, aka celestial activation, okay, this is going to very extraordinarily shift the energy here. It's going to be a very, you know, like instantly understandable, noticeable shift, specifically energy shift, because we're converting the universal power of Capricorn to universal collective energy in Aquarius. And then we're going to have the perspective and effect of that through Pisces. So the most important thing right now is the Sun and Mercury trining Uranus, is the Sun and Mercury sextiling Saturn and Neptune. I can't really emphasize enough how important this is. From now, coming into 30 days from now, when we're about 0 degrees Pisces, right? That angle, as you can see, the sun is going to be 330 degrees. This is going to be the Pisces signature running through literally the sign of Pisces. That's why this is so legendary, guys. We'll never go through something like this ever again. Like, this is it. Michael Jackson. And now look, today we're going through the Aquarius signature. What makes this the Aquarius signature? This is why I recommend taking Astro 104 on my school, because you will get to see how I link and the language between these signatures and the significance they have with the zodiac signs. But as you can see, the sun is making a 300-degree angle to Saturn and Neptune, meaning last year when we had the conjunction March 17th of the North Node, Saturn and Neptune, at about this degree, that was a 0-degree angle. Then we had 90 degrees as it squared coming out into Cancer, and they were in Aries. Then they retrograded back into Pisces, and we had 180 degrees opposition from the sun here at the end of Virgo to Saturn retrograde at the end of Pisces. Then we had the 270-degree Capricorn square, where these finally went direct, and we completed that process we started in March. Boom, now this is the end. This is it. Michael Jackson, once again. Not only have we completed this perspective shift, we are now actively, right now, for the first time. That means everything from the end of Sagittarius was just carving through Capricorn, this Capricorn signature, showing you the reward, showing you the accomplishments and what direction you take them. Now we are at the Aquarius signature. Look at the sun, look at Mercury, 300 degrees from this angle right here. The sun and Mercury are 300 degrees. That means if we go all the way around 180, 270, boom, 300. And in about a month from now, it'll be 330, literally exact. So by the time we step into, of course, here, now we're getting ready to enact a brand new 0-degree conjunction, 360/0-degree conjunction. I really do this, y'all. This is why you watch me. I'm not out here spitting no fugazi talking about, oh, your ex-boyfriend's gonna come back because the moon is in Scorpio. I'm giving you the math. I'm letting you know the alignment. You could take my perspective or my interpretation. You can make your own interpretation, but I'm giving you the math that all of this shit is based off of. And that's why this is very important in knowing we are quite literally enacting a 300-degree signature with the sun, Saturn, and Neptune. What is this letting you know? It's letting you know everything you have done since March of 2025. You are, as of now, with the new moon, activating the rewards. This Aquarius signature is having you come into the full-scale knowledge of everything you have accomplished. That means since March 17th of 2025, one, God has given you a promise. So first of all, let me know if I'm just talking or not. I think you know late March of last year what God's promise on your life was, what you have decided. And forget all the people who throughout the past year, remember we had 2 I told you so tours. So there are a lot of people who are still butthurt that they did not fulfill the burden of proof. They thought that they would be able to talk slick. They thought they would be able to gaslight as usual and say what they say. They look fucking stupid. They never fulfilled the burden of proof. You won that I told you so tour because you demonstrated how what you do is based on reality and what they believe is based on fake beliefs that have never been real. People out here preaching all sorts of bullshit. You don't even really know the source of what you're preaching. And because you couldn't fulfill that burden of proof, now you have these same people who are content with ridiculing you, making fun of you, even though they live a fucking lie. These are facts. These are fucking facts. Now, these same people who could not fulfill the burden of proof, you're watching everything they've ever believed in crumble as they desperately hang on to it because they were never real. They built their sense of identity off of fake shit. And so it's very easy to point the finger at you who's actually seeing growth, but let's diminish your success. I'm just passionate. I'm heated. I'm not angry at anything. We winning out here. It's easy to point the finger at you because you express what goes against their beliefs, and it drives them crazy because they can't necessarily stop you from succeeding in what you're doing. Saturn and Pisces did a number in On the Illusion. So all they can do is diminish your success. All they can do is act like everything you achieved you didn't achieve because it doesn't align with this collective identity of how we administer success, none of which was ever true. And this is where you have a choice to make. Are you going to claim your authentic rewards at the cost of what other people accept? Or do you want acceptance from mommy and daddy? Do you want acceptance from your society, even though you're coming into an achievement that does not reflect who you are, but what people want you to be? And I'm not going to say that it has to be either or, but that's why I'm using this as an analogy. Because some people are going to really go for the safe, oh, I have to make sure people think that I'm successful and that I'm not crazy out here, but you're fake. And you're only fake because what you are standing on has no basis in reality, or you're taking a seemingly path less traveled, or you're maintaining this sense of authenticity, and that might alienate you from people who don't like that it doesn't fall within the status quo of what's acceptable. Is it an illusion of choice like that where you only have to pick either or? I would hope not, but I'm going to use that as an example because it really does cover bases, and it ties into a lot of the fact that I've just literally shown, mathematically speaking, since March of 2023, when Saturn came into Pisces. You have not just been dicking around. You have not just been effing around. And now everything that you have quite literally sowed since March and again since June, you are fully reaping now. You are fully reaping the rewards. And literally, this activation into Aquarius season is for you at the highest level to know what those rewards were, to know everything that God has promised for you since 2023, and especially since March of 2025, that you were held accountable. It's not really enough that God promised you things. God gave you these, and when I'm saying God, that can mean the universe for you. God is such a nuanced, loaded term right now, because what one person means when they say God is going to be different from what someone else means when they say God. You have Christians who are mad that if you reference and call God the universe, right, even though the God they worship was really just the storm deity that competed with Baal and conflated and plagiarized everything from Greco-Roman myth to Egyptian Kemetic myth. Everything you read from the Bible has been lifted and stolen from Egypt. I'm telling you this right now. And I don't want to single out Christianity because there's a lot of religions that can fall under this umbrella as well. I'm just saying, before we get too caught up on defining what God is and who God is, all I want to say is there has been this collective, yes, not knowing that the person who is claiming this supremacy about what they think God is comes from a plagiarized manuscript that has borrowed from other cultures with which they'll turn around and say are of the devil, which makes absolutely no sense. So this is why I'm saying, whether you want to call it God, whether you wanted to call it the universe, it doesn't matter what you call it. It matters about your actions. The people who will call Jesus God or God are stealing money from real life people in the name of this same God, okay, are having sex with people in their church. And I'm not just singling out Christianity. Every industry has horrible people and good people, but you getting too caught up in these politics is not going to save you. Is not what, as much as you might believe in the Nicene Council, which is literally just made up by old geezers in order to attempt to monopolize truth, real shit. all with which was once again ripped from an ancient culture, you can get lost in that. Nothing real can be threatened. These are facts. So argue with people whose way of life is threatened because it was never real. But I know what we practice is real. So we don't have to defend it. The truth doesn't need defense. And regardless of God's promise on your life, you are held accountable to make sure the way you live your life enables you to come into this promise. If God promised success, if God promised that in this life, through this cycle, you're going to live a much more healthy lifestyle, you're going to be more healthy than you've ever been, then you have made the effort and action to become more healthy, to be held accountable to do your part, right? To not expect for instant health to just come out of nowhere, but as you've been guided towards the right direction, understanding that you are not separate from anything and anyone else in this world, and we are ultimately all connected, as separation is an illusion. You, of course, aligned your belief systems and your beliefs and the actions spurred on those beliefs and the development of character influenced by your belief of who you are meant to be, with which has been revealed to you all year. Okay. This is the reaping of it. If you have compromised and you have decided to fall back into horrible patterns, if that's what you sowed, if you sowed a doubt in yourself that only depends on external validation from other people in order to feel valuable in yourself, that's what you gonna reap, my friend. If you have sowed an unshakable faith in yourself, whereas other people have just depended on delusional beliefs to get them to where they've gotten to, you are going to reap this effect of an unshakable faith in yourself in the form of unfuckwittableness. Because the whole point of this year, guys, before Saturn goes into Aries, and now we get ready to see conflict in a way that we've never really seen conflict globally and locally at once. The whole purpose of 2025 was to weed away who is unfuckwittable and who is weak, who has such an unshakable faith within themselves that they're not going to let external beliefs from others, external ostracization, external lack of validation from others shake their faith in themselves, versus other people who fold at a moment's notice. And this is where it doesn't matter what you believe. You're going to see Muslims, Christians, atheists, people who have such an unshakable faith in their way of life that that's going to do exploits, not this useless, pointless arguing about who is God and who is not and whose religion is right. It's going to be who can demonstrate that with their actions, whose actions speak louder than words. Yeah, you're going to have the people that are screaming day and night about, people. This clip is going viral about these monks who are walking, and then you see these people who are trying to judge them and say, oh no, you're going to go to hell because you don't listen to Jesus. None of that is biblical. None of that is actually quote unquote Christian. This is just headcanon. And that's not a criticism towards Christianity, because you have other Christians criticize that. I'm just using Christianity as an example because it's a popular religion and faith system that has been distorted unto all hell. It's going to be your willingness to not fold and be a bitch that's going to really make or break how you're going to exist and thrive in this new world. All Saturn and Pisces wanted to see. A lot of people are getting this too caught up in who's right, who's wrong, most of which can't really be proven until you die anyway. Okay, here's the thing. How unshakable is your faith? How willing were you to adjust your beliefs so that they are more aligned with integrity in the process of making your faith unshakable. That was all you were tested on this year. So that no matter what interference and no matter what challenges faced your way, when it came time to fold, when it came time for your faith in yourself to be shaken because every single one else around you lost faith in you, did you fold or not? Doesn't matter if what you believe is opposite in what I believe. So everything that I just said about my opinions and perspective about, let's say, Christianity, or let's say about another belief system, if you maintained that faith in what I don't believe in and nobody was able to make you fold, you have passed. This is where, if there is no integrity in these beliefs, if you are wrong in certain elements of your beliefs, you have integrity. So as you become aware of what's not right or what lacks integrity in those beliefs, you can adjust it. You are not so prideful that you can't be wrong. And so you will align it versus people who don't care if there's integrity in their beliefs or not. They want to hold on delusionally, even when they are pointed out the erroneous nature of those beliefs. That's what karma is for. You're going to have to reap what you've sowed, for better or for worse. No one really, anyone can say whatever, but no one can truly tell you what that is for you. That's why you are responsible for everything that happens in your life. You're not responsible for how other people respond to you and what happens to you. You're responsible for how you respond to everything that happens. That is your karma. So, something to keep in mind for each and every single one of you who refuse to fold, and you know who you are, because it was not easy. This past year was simple, but it wasn't easy. It was definitely challenging. And I'm willing to bet that a lot of you missed out on opportunities. You lost friends, you lost opportunities with people and friends. And let me not just say friends. I mean more so you might have kind of taken a hit because it came to maintaining your integrity. And I don't mean the ways with which we humble brag and we kind of talk about things that we could have done but you would have never really done anyway. I'm talking about stuff that you might have had to forego because it just wasn't right for you. It didn't have that level of integrity for you. Stuff that other people would shamelessly do because maybe they don't care. And that could be their level of integrity. I don't even want to shame that. But you know what you had to go through in order to maintain this integrity and accountability because you know what God promised you. You know the vision that God showed you, or the universe, or this force, this collective force and power that we are all one with. You know what it is that you were meant to achieve, and you didn't let anything derail you or stop you, even when at certain points you may have been the only one who has had faith in that direction. That's all the universe slash God slash whatever the fuck you're going to call this wants to see. All right, cool. Are you going to fold because you are getting ready to activate power on a God like level? And this is where, up until this period, first of all, we activate godlike power every year. So none of this is new. It's just the nature of this occurring with Pluto very close in Aquarius that's going to really kick in all of the new gen post 1995 births by 1998 with Uranus and Neptune in Aquarius. You guys are awakening this, right? Saturn and Pisces, Aries, Taurus, those of you born in 95, 96, 97, you guys are coming into your Saturn return. So to harness supernatural power like so, and you fold in And and at the first stage of difficulty, you're not even standing up for yourself, and you're letting people who don't even know you tell you what to do with your life. You're not going to access this power in its fullest. You're going to outright allow other people to have you put a own spell on yourself so you don't harness your abilities, all because whatever you are pioneering might not be peer reviewed, researched, or might not be in the norm, or might not be accepted by those around you. You're effectively telling the universe you're a punk ass bitch and you're weak and you need other people to give you the permission to be yourself. That's what you're telling the world. Okay? Versus those of you who didn't mind going through the fire. You didn't fold just so you can get fake acceptance from other people who will openly, directly or indirectly let you know they don't fucking know you. They know who they want you to be. They know who they believe you should be. They do not appreciate or accept who you are. They can't even recognize that. So ask yourself, what are you bringing into this new world? Are you bringing the you that you have spent your whole life up until now cultivating that reflects who you originally are, who you authentically are, to the detriment of other people who cannot gain leverage over this real self? Or are you going to move forward with this manufactured fake version of you that's not even really you, but makes other people feel comfortable? Because you're not like the other people. You're not difficult to deal with. Why can't more people be like you? Is that who you really are? Because if that's who you really are, that's who you really are. Then you want to move forward with who you truly are. And ask yourself, really, at this stage of the game where we're ready to step into a whole new fucking world order, what is it that you are reaping? As everything you've sowed is coming quite literally full circle. The next 30 days is you coming into a supernatural and knowledgeable awareness and understanding of the rewards you have pretty much sowed and are ready to reap. And because this is activating at a supernatural, universal, powerful level, this is literally at the final degrees getting ready to complete this breakthrough at the highest level of potency. And moving forward, this is going to prepare for you to facilitate themes you may have never thought you would ever see. So, for my brothers and sisters in Christ who are in these standing waves, that we are ready to really push forward and kind of, pioneer and maintain this level of authenticity in a period where it may be more needed than ever. Congratulations. And now let me break down this next 2 weeks for you, because already right off the bat, this transition from the pregame into the real deal party in Aquarius, the celestial party, which all Aquarians are invited to. So if you want to go to the party, find an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising, and just be around them during this period, because there's a facet of their consciousness that is at this celestial party in the causal realms of existence. All right, in between the physical and the astral. Now, here's the thing: in between the material and the immaterial, basically. Now, no, I've never been to Ghana. That'll be pretty dope. Hopefully, one day I can make the trip. Why this is very significant now is because the sun is sextile Saturn and Neptune. So, as we are, of course, click, 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 cutting off this sense of of course, this completion of the previous activation, we also have Uranus. I think what we don't want to sleep on is the Uranus and Taurus aspect. You see this trine right here? See how Mercury and Mars are getting ready to trine this in about a month from now, whereas we will be at the Pisces signature for Saturn and Neptune. We will now finally have completed the Capricorn signature for a now direct Uranus. Okay. So we are breaking through the final breakthrough in Sagittarius signature through Aquarius, that by the end of Aquarius, where it squares, we will now start to complete through Pisces this divine experience of this innovation. And because this is a supernatural aspect, it's very important for me to really establish this, because Uranus and Taurus is the physiological equation and function of this equation of the supernatural development of your five senses. The reason why your clairaudience, your auditory senses are more clairaudient, your gustatory senses are more clairgustient, your visual senses are more clairvoyant, right? There's more claircognizance. And through 2018 up until now, this at a slow but steady level has, of course, innovated itself. The last time Uranus was in Taurus, uh, the United States entered World War II after its Great Depression. All right. And it's at the exact same degree where it was when it entered. So this is where now, coming into Gemini, we're going to innovate with technology this time. How it is we innovate our mind. Okay. And yes, that's the most important part. Before the concept of Christ um became monopolized to just mean one person through this man-made god that was meant to externalize a deeply internal and esoteric concept. Christ is just the anointed one. The concept of Christ was ripped from the ancient Kemet Egyptian process of anointing a body getting ready to be mummified. All right. So a Christ is someone you are. Christ is a title. Jesus just means savior. Jesus is one of the most popular Christ-like figures that, of course, have been pushed throughout time. But you are a Christed being. When we talk about being like Christ, having this consciousness, that it's easy for people to just call this new age mysticism, where the more Helena Blavatsky influenced new age mysticism is really more a Satanist or Luciferian ploy to designate these forces as metaphoric. They're not really real, which is a lie. Everything about Christ is physical, it's real. These are waves. Shout out to Dr. Enki. I've seen an amazing presentation he did to break all this down. But yeah, these are not figurative, these are not allegorical. This is an ancient cultural tradition before the Romans, before the Greeks, them basically proving the existence of atoms, matter, waves, and quantum physics. All right, it's science. But that being said, despite the conflation of mythology here throughout time, um, what you're going to be experiencing is how this supernatural activation of God power, aka universal power, at the end of Capricorn is going to break through this unconventional innovation of your physiological body with Uranus. And it's going to tie back around this total perspective that has been guiding the whole world. We're done. We're done. This is the final stages. I still can't believe Doreen Virtue folded. I am not surprised. She's a Taurus. I don't mean to hate on Tauruses, because not every Taurus has, but it's not very hard to see that, especially given her age. A lot of these people do not have a good historical understanding of the Bible, of how it came to form. So you share a lot of fear mongering, you threaten that they're going to go to hell, and you give them the impression that the work they've been doing is of the devil, they'll believe it. There's no actual real case to state that reading tarot cards is evil. That level of divination is based off of the first 5 books of the Old Testament, which is not a authority of anything outside of old Jewish mysticism and lore. So you cannot get any of these people to tell you based on reality why this is evil. It's just off of beliefs. And yeah, Doreen Virtue is the OG who created all of the angel cards. Many people have bought angel cards. I'm not necessarily, even when I first came to the community, I felt like that was a bit exploitative as far as, okay, you can't, like you're conflating spiritual themes with biblical themes, but it cannot be understated Doreen Virtue's significance in putting on an entire generation of people who read cards. I feel like her conversion into Christianity was meant to happen. I don't really see her as evil because of that, because a lot of people will go through this, right? But she now denounced everybody who bought her cards. So imagine if now I turn Christian again and I call you guys evil for listening to me. Oh, astrology is of the devil. You know what I mean? You guys shouldn't even do that, right? That's why I have compassion for someone like her, because she was made to believe this. She was made to feel that she was evil because she created this, and that she should repent and turn from her ways. It's literally brainwashing. It's literally pathos. And it's this periodic revival theme. Every 9 to 10 years, you will see a wave of people go back to the church, a wave of people be atheists, a wave of people find Jesus again. None of this is new. It's the internet that's showing you and making it look like it's new. None of this is new. This happens periodically for many years. And while I have criticisms around her angel cards and tarot, it can't be understated the movement with which she was able to inspire people, and I honor her for that. I think people, and that's because of her judgmental shift towards people who feel like a certain way, that they're now being called demonic. So I get that, but I do have compassion and grace for her, because people will go through this where now they're made to feel. I know someone else, a Scorpio woman who's very amazing at this as well, but these people were in low places in their life, and they conflate that with the low place to now think that this spiritual work is demonic, even though there is only anecdotal based stories. There's no facts. There's nothing ever real. And this is why these churches, this is why these groups gain the traction they do on impressionable minds who come at them at their most need with just classic fear projection. Literally, the only way anyone can try and debunk me is to spread ad hominems and to say that I work with the devil, or I worship the devil and don't know I worship the devil, which is no different than what they said to Jesus. And Jesus had to say, a kingdom divided against itself can't stand. You can't say I'm worshiping the devil when I've never scammed anybody. I'm actively debunking and calling out frauds. Like, if anything, a demon hates to see me, because we slay those motherfuckers over here. And that's why I curse. That's why I go into the rebellion of everything that had to be Christianized in the past. A lot of ideas, social ideals of what's classy and whatnot, are only real based off of agreed upon principles. These things were affixed and tied to religion, affixed to godliness and being good, when it's not really real like that. Yeah, it's real in a sense, but there really is no objective morality around this, with which is then used to judge you and to have you feel like you're less than yourself. I'm saying you don't need a religion to be a good person. Basically, none of that is tied to some mythology or dogma, and everyone has always known that, right? But something to keep in mind, because yeah, I'm one of those Pisces that is afraid of becoming openly Christian, because it tends to annoy, and that's because of the reputation that Christianity has had towards other astrologers. Other astrologers will be rightfully disgusted. because it is these same Christians that have sought to demonize them. When ironically, one of the most Christian things you can do is to be an astrologer. So for those of you who want to openly be Christian, there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like a Christian who reads tarot, a Christian who actually reads astrology, will somewhat be ostracized by both communities when it is fundamentally a truly Christian thing to do, considering the influence of astrology on the Bible, okay, and magic on the Bible. So this is what, of course, now as we step into this new world where we're going to have children born with Pluto Sag, Pluto Aqua, Pluto Cap, that won't really have the experience we've had, that have grown up with iPads, that have grown up with Chat GPT, that have grown up with the proliferation of knowledge video essays and all sorts of people kind of speaking up about what was not cool to speak up before. We are a part of this shift and change in culture and in the collective society. Okay. So really keep that in mind, because as we break through out of these old cycles, we're going to get ready to set up one of the most iconic new cycles that will eventually, in 30 years and in another 200 years, be its own old cycle. Okay. So it's not like we're reinventing anything. We're just a part of what has always been occurring. Okay. Don't let, just don't let Christianity haunt you from living your best peaceful life. Exactly. And Christianity is an insert for any religion. I'll keep the same energy for Islam. I'll keep the same energy for Judaism. I'll even keep the same energy for Egyptology and all sorts of stuff. Any kind of faith system or religion that does not allow you to be who you really are, right? Even Satanism, especially Luciferianism, even New Age practices. Unfortunately, what's worse than Christianity right now are astrology, right? These New Age faith-based law of attraction, law of assumption, astrological toxicity. The spiritual community has become like the religious community, where you have amazing gems in these communities. So I'm not talking about the actual core truths, but you have these orbiters, these casuals, these people who came into the community because they felt that they can solve all their problems, and they're just adding more toxicity to this because they don't even really practice it. They're just cherry picking what they like. The same thing happening in these religious communities. And that's why I'm saying it's not really about what religion is right or wrong. How much faith, unshakable faith and integrity do you have in practicing it? Give me a Muslim who has integrity in their faith of Islam. Give me a Christian who has integrity practicing Christianity. I have no problem with that. But instead of getting too caught up in, whoa, what's the right path? It's how much of integrity are walking that path, regardless of what other people believe, because you will never get everyone to agree on the same beliefs. That's not what life is about. If that was what life was about, we'd all be fucked. Okay. So really keep that in mind. There are going to be things that you believe that are going to rub people off the wrong way. And it should be. That's how life is. When these come into a clash, how much integrity are you able to maintain? What kind of grace do you have when you realize some of what you believe may not be right? Or when you realize it is right, right? Are you going to get smug? Are you going to be humble? These are all the things coming into the next few months we are going to truly finish completion of. So as we really kick off this next week ahead, the moon going through Aquarius is going to cross over Pluto and continue this celestial activation of this universal power. That's going to lead us, of course, into the next aspect and angle. Hence, as you can see, we're still 30 degrees. So the next magic moon message I'm going to do will be when the moon is in Pisces. And as you can see, we're going to have the moon 1 degree Pisces and the sun, of course, 1 degree Aquarius. So the moon in Pisces is going to be the supernatural, metaphysical understanding of the supernatural, divine knowledge. It is the divine manifestation of knowledgeable awareness that's going to set off the party hosted in Aquarius by Hades in the land of the Diabolic Aquarians. Okay, so this is still now, as you can see, 30 degrees of activation of a new moon in Capricorn that we had. This is how we blend and now shift this cycle from one sign to the other. Normally, all of this will happen in one sign. So I'm just accounting for how to make sense of the shift of one sign to another. So the moon in Pisces is going to shape the perspective of this energy we're actively awakening. January 23rd is where the party will begin, with Mars getting ready to just enter right after the party has begun. Okay. Aphrodite and Hermes. In fact, look, guys, this is why this sequence is important. So as you can see, this new moon in Capricorn is the land of the diabolical Aquarius, the internet. Forest Fairy, that's a really good question. Aquarius, of course, has existed long before 1998, where the internet really, the World Wide Web really was contributed more, where Uranus entered Aquarius. So Aquarius, of course, has a very strong connection to electricity and the internet. But I would say Aquarius is really the human collective. Okay. We see the human collective express itself on the internet because it's a cloud space with which can house much activity on the internet. But the humanity and any collective structure as it exists, humanity itself is Aquarian. Humanitarianism is Aquarian. The going to a concert and seeing all sorts of different types of people there is an Aquarian concept. So really good question. It'd be nice to see what is happening on the internet relative to that time. However, yeah, this is also going to represent a celestial quality of land that exists outside of the physical earth. And the internet could be a portal to that. It is the realm of a higher mind. It's also going to represent waves and standing waves that are invisible frequencies. It's also going to represent the cloud space of our minds interpolated, that is not physical. It's just literally our ideas, the mind that houses all our ideas that it comes from. So a really good question, because once we get past Capricorn, we're no longer physical. Capricorn is the boundary of the totality of the material universe. Aquarius now represents causal frequencies and everything outside of the physical. And then Pisces is the astral realm beyond the physical. That is purely imaginative, and there's no physical property to Pisces. So that's why this period gets very controversial. This is why Aquarius, to materialist, reductionist, postmodern science, is seen as sci-fi. Why Pisces is seen as fantasy. Because in a sense, based on that system of thinking, it most definitely is. It's not necessarily quantifiable anymore. It's not anything we can realistically measure. And that's where the budding new generation of children, and those of you who have, of course, completed your Saturn return, are going to be a part of history and in innovating these concepts, and to, of course, applying a lot of what you've awakened into how this pushes forward. And what's also really cool here is, you know what I mean? Now that the moon is revisiting this nature and quality of the North Node and Saturn and Neptune, right? This is going to be the last time the moon is in Pisces before Saturn and Neptune enter Aries. Really think about that. The next time the moon comes back to this point, it's going to be over a Neptune and Saturn in Aries, okay? Before Aries season. So why this is significant is we have this stellium here that's activating this Pluto cycle. That's going to happen within this first activation cycle. By next week, Friday, right? We're going to have the party in Aquarius begin during the weekend. The next Pluto Sun activation, that if I referenced last year's, was still at the beginning, at the 21st of January. Every year it's going to be a little bit further out, to where eventually we'll start having these activations in February by the time Pluto is like in the middle of Aquarius. So that was last year. This is this year. As you can see, last year was a lot more subtle. This year is a lot more with a bang. Okay. As we're closing out cycles and we're getting ready to kick off the next tings. So that's the next week ahead. This next week ahead is going to appropriately activate this Aquarius season and bring the moon into Pisces and greatly shift our perspective around what things look like, what they're supposed to look like, how we are adjusting our beliefs in order to activate this supernatural principle, the supernatural awakening. And not just a supernatural awakening that is happening after we're activating universal power. Bars. Okay. The moon is then going to go into Aries. The moon in Aries is now going to drive cardinally. This is the Gemini signature. We are understanding this forward motion, an authentic application of this shift of perspective that drives forward our authentic understanding of what knowledge we're actively awakening and activating. Mars is in Aquarius. The diabolicalness has begun. And this is about to get very weird, guys. This is going to get very, I don't even want to say crazy. It's going to be different. All right. This is where we're going to increasingly say and start to see things we would have never really thought of, like alien invasions. Am I going to say the alien invasion is all going to happen this year? Absolutely not. But I'm using alien invasion as a stand-in for the concept of something we would see as sci-fi. And this I stand on completely. We, whether fabricated or genuine, are going to have to deal with phenomena that up until now to us is sci-fi, is something we would have never seen. This is what happened last time Pluto was in Aquarius. The concept of imperialism docking up in your shores and getting ready to wipe out your entire lineage because of whatever diseases they brought. That was a foreign, quite literally foreign concept. And that's why I'm going to call this monthly peace report the federal invasion. Okay? Everything about Aquarius is alien. Your states are going to be invaded by federal agents. We are seeing this nature of invasion, one with the federal government and its agents, and also with just foreign concepts that are going to get ready to invade your world. And I could also call it the celestial invasion, but that's what this next arc is, kicking off this advanced society arc. So the moon in Aries, that's going to shape now the attitude of what we even call this budding new energy, all right, through Aries is going to drive that forward. Then we're going to have, of course, the square with the moon in Taurus. All right, Jeremiah, I appreciate you ordering the progressed natal chart reading. I have you scheduled for tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Okay, let me see if you got the, oh, you got the you actually got the consultation. So yeah, I got you, bro. So with that being said, yeah. With that being said, the moon in Taurus is going to land that spaceship. It's going to give you a very natural understanding of the quality of what's being integrated here and how these natural values are tying with this higher knowledge that is still at this point integrating. This is what's going to tie this awakening, the supernatural awakening and activation of power to your physiology directly, and it's going to have you in a tangible sense gain a practical understanding of these ideas. You're working more mentally in a bigger picture sense, the castles being built in the sky, the spaceship of which will begin to land. That, of course, is going to lead into the Moon Uranus conjunction that brings us to Gemini now. So at this point, Neptune has finally made it into Aries. Now we're going to have this amazing trine, this extraordinary trine that with the Moon in Gemini is going to wrap into words the experience of this new phenomena. All right, so it's not going to be until the end of January. The Moon's in Gemini. Now we're starting to understand how to intellectually make sense of this phenomena, these dynamics, what we want to call this energy, this awakening of energy, this burgeoning of this Aquarius season. Okay. Then the Moon, of course, is going to go into Cancer. And as the Moon goes into Cancer, we're going to integrate everything with this retrograde evolution of these dynamics being integrated, expanding, of course, the feeling of how it is. We integrate this knowledge that is being integrated or tied together, and then boom, shakalaka, baby. We're going to have the full moon in Leo, and that full moon in Leo is going to prepare for the subsequent new moon in Aquarius in 2 weeks, where within that period, Saturn will now enter Aries, and we're going to have this square to Uranus. And yeah, this is going to be amazing. We're going to have this performative understanding, this golden, courageous understanding, and social contextual understanding of what we are awakening collectively and how that is impacting quite literally the rest of the populace. Not to be confused with now the full moon in Aquarius. That's going to be a collective understanding of the social breakthrough of the supernatural with Jupiter and the Sun opposite Pluto, a lot of which will be prepared for by this aspect right here with the full moon. Okay. So that's what to expect over the next 2 weeks. Normally, of course, we have ceremonies and rituals that we could look forward to at this stage, especially concerning a final activation. That's so funny. Especially concerning a final activation, what this is prepared to do realistically is, of course, push forward whatever direction you're moving in. So, all I have to say as far as any kind of ritual or ceremony, as I end this live, I want you to take forth the new moon in Sagittarius ceremony we did, where you're moving forward with the vision of where you see you are now, right? Now, all I want you to do is just decide on that. What is everything you decide you've accomplished, especially now that we're sextiling Saturn and Neptune? What is everything that you have decided? This is not the new moon to be setting intentions. I definitely beg to differ. You want to set new moons every intention. You want to set intentions every new moon, okay? Whether it's by the eclipse or not. So once again, I think I know what you're saying. No, this isn't the new moon to be setting at least intentions of stuff that you've been working towards since the beginning of 2025. This is you kind of coming into that, right? But are intentional decisions, right? Basically, what you want to do is to decide. Okay, there's important decisions you want to sow the seeds for with this new moon, and it's as simple as, now that you have seen what has been promised to you by you and what you're pushing forward, what seeds do you want to plant? What do you decide that is? For example, like I've been saying, I decide we're set for life. I don't give a fuck if it looks like that. I don't care if it looks like people are struggling. I've decided we're set for life. Everything that's going to happen in between that versus decision must happen now. And I'm adapting as necessary to accommodate that. I'm not forcing anything for that to happen because I've decided that's just what it is. And every action that I do now towards that is a reflection of this decision. I've decided that of course, the work I've done throughout the past year has worked more than amazingly for me. Okay. I've decided I don't need to take any extra action to take advantage of everything that's already aligned for me. Right? I have unlimited amounts of anything. I've decided. That's it. That's it. Make it so simple. People will laugh at you because they feel like, oh, that's all you're doing. Yes, there's nothing more I have to do. It's already done. What the fuck are we talking about? We've decided. That's it. I've decided we're victorious. I decided that we're unfuckwittable. I decided nobody's fucking with us. Nobody's touching us. Nobody's seeing us. All right. Unless they can recognize who we truly are. That's it. Period. All right. And yeah, we can make these decisions, but make sure now every action you take reflects this decision. Okay. Um, Decide on who you are, decide on, of course, what that makes you, decide on how you're ready to commit to that. Okay. And um yes, listen, the dissociation is important because we're getting ready to apply. A lot of this disassociation is the release of the old cycles. As we come into the Aquarius and Pisces signatures, it is actively disassociating you because you're getting ready to sign new independent contracts. You're getting ready to take completely new directions you would have never thought you've taken. And that requires disassociation from what you're no longer along. And that's going to feel fish tarded. That's why I'm saying some of you could literally be realistically, screwing yourselves over by expecting stuff from you that is, projected by other people, and you're thinking it's supposed to look a certain way, when the fact that you're feeling disassociated, the fact that you're feeling confused is proof you're on the right path. You're supposed to feel confused. You're supposed to not necessarily know what step we're headed into because we're disengaging from the previous path that got us here. So that's going to require surrender. This is why those of you with unshakable faith in yourself, this isn't your first rodeo. No matter what happens, it's going to be good because you got yourself here with the people who you connect with that love you and challenge you. And you're going to successfully transition into this next state. As you can see from the full moon in Leo, that's going to prepare us for Pisces. That's going to shift our final perspective. And Capricorn, Aqua, and Pisces is this disassociative, universal, collective space that's going to release, okay, release this old chapter. And once we step into Aries, boom, we're going to activate the new chapter coming through into the summer. We're going to start to align and adjust what that new path is ready to look like. So this is the period where all of the miracles you've been facilitating are going to make obsolete old beliefs. And you're going to see that you weren't just doing nothing. You really have been awakening and developing yourself this whole time. And yeah, relative to those decisions being made, move forward accordingly. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the monthly peace report. You guys stay blessed as always. And until next time, peace.